Okay, sort of like very spontaneous stream today. How are you guys? Is anyone here listening to this? Hey Fabio, what's up, man? By the way, have I ever told you that you have a beautiful name? Hey, how's it going, guys? I don't know, did you see the thumbnail? Basically, what I want to do is model from scratch this image that I've done, because a couple of people wrote me asking if I could show them how I made this image. It's actually a very simple image. And so I thought we're gonna do it together from scratch. I'm going to model everything. A lot of these elements are simple props that I bought for very cheap on like either ArtStation or 𝘊𝗶𝗵𝗃, and it's a very simple light setup. We're gonna do all these things together. It's going to be very, very easy. What's happening? Hi everyone. Nice to have you here. How are you guys? Everything okay? Are you self-contained? And did you wash your hands? Also, don't forget to wash other parts of your body, because they're just as important. I feel like this is an important thing to say. Alright. Let's just start by modeling this thing that I've created, okay? I'm gonna start out with a simple plane. And one of the things that I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about some of the plugins and tools and shortcuts that I use usually when doing my artwork, because maybe they might be useful for you. I'm a Cinema 4D user, but I'm pretty sure that the equivalent of all the techniques and things that I'm using are also available on other platforms. But anyway, so I'm going to reduce the amount of segments to 1 and 1. I'm gonna scale this element up quite a bit, actually. And I'm going to place a couple of pieces of geometry just to sort of like create a reference frame. Now, the first plugin that I'm going to show you is Drop to Floor. It's a very cool plugin. It allows you to basically drop every single geometry to the floor. I've placed the icon up here, and so you can make sure that your geometry is flush with the 0 line. It's a very useful plugin. It's for free. I recommend everyone to download it if you use Cinema 4D. The other thing that I am going to do is that you have to understand that I'm a very compulsive person, and I want things to be exact and precise. And so, for instance, if you look at these numbers down here, the position and the size of the object, I don't like that there are all these little numbers that make no sense. And so what I do, I'll quickly move around the object to see which value I should be changing in order to place this correctly. In this case, I'm going to place 1000 centimeters in that direction, and I'll do the same here, minus 1000, because this is of course around the 0 point. And so I have a space of about 20 meters. That's a lot of space. In the end, I might have to squish it down. These elements here are almost 20 meters high. I'm going to change both of them to 20 meters. So 2000 centimeters, drop to floor again. And so this is going to give me, it's actually too big. I already know that. Let's move this to, let's say, minus 500. And we'll do the same with this, 500. And then we're going to make these cubes a lot slimmer in this direction. Yes, so 100. We'll do the same here, 100. And that's it. Then I'm gonna actually make another cube. I'll squeeze it, make it very thin, squeeze it in that direction, maybe push it out a little bit. Let's correct the sides. Let's make this 6. Let's make this 940 because I don't like the little numbers. I hate them. And we'll leave it like this for now. Good. So the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure that this element here, the floor, I'll convert it to a polygon by clicking C. I'm gonna drag this element all the way to the back. And I'm going to place another box right in front. Make this box really large, really thin. Maybe the box will be only like 2 centimeters, should be more, maybe, I don't know. Drop to floor, and I'm going from the top view to put this very close to this element. Good. Next, I'm going to copy this box, make it a lot bigger, because this is going to be the C. And so I kind of want to have this element. Oh, I think I did not copy it. There we go. So I'll make a copy. So now I have a copy. Yes. Yes. Good. And I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger, larger. I'll put it somewhere closer to this element, and I'll make it a lot taller. And since I'm going to have sort of like a bottom to this C, I'll just copy this element here, scale it up, push it up, scale it up, gonna scale it up, push it up, and I'm gonna push it like this, so that we sort of have a bottom to this element. Great, let me switch to Corona. Let me create a camera looking through these 2 elements. I'll just make a normal camera, Corona camera, sorry, and make sure that I'm looking through it. 0 all my positions, 0 the camera. I want to be what do I want to do? Camera. I want to put it at 150 centimeters from the floor. This box should be at, if a person is standing, how big should the table be? Maybe 100 centimeters? Yeah, is that correct? What do you guys say? Is that correct? Camera, I'm going to use a, hi guys, you want to smile? 50 centimeters focal length, and I'm going to move this camera so that my camera intersects the geometry. Move the focal point more or less to the center where my computer is going to be, because then later I'm going to use some sort of like depth of field to kind of blur the animal in the background that you're gonna see swimming in the pool. And when I'm done, right click, rigging tags, protection, so that I cannot move the view anymore. Great. So now the camera is positioned. I don't want to look at the camera, so I'm going to hide it. And I'm going to place a Corona light. Let me change my display. Oh, there is a guy that has a very big motorbike outside. R to rotate it. Make this light a lot bigger. And now for the water, because this is basically going to be the water, I'm going to need either a volume material or a water material. Let's see which one works better. I think that in my case I used the volume material. Yes, I think it was volume material. But anyway, let me just make let me just create another box, because I kind of want to put... I just want to make sure that the only light that I have inside comes from the water. And so the place here, it's going to be very dark. There we go. So now what I'll do, I'll say C to convert this, and then click this, and woo, let's go inside. Click this and delete it. From the front view, I'm going to select all these edges. And maybe, where is the camera? Let me see where the camera is. Yeah, okay, then I can also move these edges a little bit to the front. And now if I go inside the camera, there is a box around me, surrounding me, which is going to stop the light from coming in from the side. This box, I can actually hide it for the purpose of the modeling exercise. Let me go back inside my camera, and let's switch to Corona. I've done it already, great. Let me change the aspect ratio. As you can see, I've used an anamorphic aspect ratio, which is 2.4 to 1. I'm gonna lock it. And since I have like... I hate to see decimal numbers. As you can see, like, my view is now very cropped. Let me change this so that you can see it better. Alt-V, view, and I'm going to change the color to red and make it a little bit less opaque, so that now you see the whoops. The thing that probably I'll have to do is, with my camera, I need to shift it a little bit towards the top. Maybe 5 degrees, so that I have a little bit more breathing room up there. And what I'll do now, I'll create the Corona. Let's try it with the volume material. Where is it? Volume material. Okay, as far as I know, the parameters of the volume material are very, very simple. Here you can control the absorption color, as the word says. So I'm gonna make it very bluish. And also the scattering. That's what I want to change. That's very important, to make it something like also bluish, maybe closer to the green with the blue. Directionality, I don't want to change anything. The emission, probably I want to change. I think that this is one of the parameters that I want to change. 600. Maybe let's make this also 600. We'll have to test, because, you know, this is something that it's, of course, case specific. Let me just put a geometry inside of our ocean. Whoops. So that we see whether or not this is feasible. And I haven't modified the intensity of the light. I haven't touched any of that stuff. Let's just see what happens when I render. I see nothing. Probably this is because the emission material is too... needs to be more. I don't know. Let's test. Let's test. Let's test. Let's see if something changes. Still nothing. Okay, let me see. What about the corona light? What do we have here? Intensity of Let's see if I have to make the light a little bit more intense. Still nothing. What are you doing, man? What are you doing, man? Oh, you know what? Such a... In Austria you say a 𝘀𝗆𝗆, because I did not apply the material to the box, and I did not apply the glass material to the glass, of course. Great. Well done, Fabio. This is what you get for doing a live. Okay, to make a glass, it's very simple. I'll leave the diffuse to white, reflection switched on, refraction switched on. That's it. I'll drop this to my beautiful glass, and maybe now I'll have to reset this to 50. I don't know. Let's try. Let's try. Let's test. Let's try. Render. Yes, now we're going somewhere. Good. So this is the effect that we're getting now from tweaking these values the way we did. Brilliant. I'm gonna stop the rendering. Now let's build the environment quickly. File, open. Now there are quite a few assets that I use. Fab's assets. Let's see. 3D models. Have a bunch of 𝘄𝗶𝗃. 𝘄𝗶𝗃, hard surface, is it this one? Let's see. Nope, but actually we could use some of this. Okay, I'll grab this one and say edit, copy, window, edit, paste, T to scale it up, E, R to turn it around, and let's move it somewhere in front of this column so that we can start building up some interesting geometry. Let me change the display to quick shading so that we see the geometry itself. Good. Let's do it this way. And let's start creating a very basic material. I'm gonna go with a new material. I want this material to have a reflection, and this reflection should be somehow glossy. So 75%. Yes, I'll replace this onto this geometry. This geometry, I think, that needs to be cleaned up in terms of like also font tag. Let me see if by lowering this to 10 will fix something. It's not the prettiest, but it's okay. We're going to put some more geometry in front, and then we're gonna have some light to sort of like hide it a little bit. So let's move this here. Let's move it forward, back. Good. Let's go and look for some more props. 𝘄𝗶𝗃, brutalist scribbles, roads, hard surface, assets. Let's see. Okay, good. So let's grab some of these. I'll grab, actually, you know what? I'm gonna grab them all, edit, copy, and I'll put them, whoops, this we can close project, nope. Edit, paste. I'm gonna move this out of the way so that I can keep them there. Let me save this because you never know. Save project, desktop, test. Great. So I'm gonna grab this one, gonna make a copy, place it right over there, T to scale it up, S to zoom, to view, R to rotate it 90. Rotate it 180. I will place it here somewhere. Maybe I'll do another copy, R, rotate this 180 degrees, E to copy it again. Beautiful. Let me move this to the side. Let me grab some more 𝘊𝗋𝗋𝗋𝗋. What do we use? What do we use? What do we use? We can use this one. E, let's make a copy. Did I make a copy? Did I make a copy? Yes. R to rotate again. T to scale it up. R to rotate it one more time. And then we can place it on top of this one. Scale it. Center it more or less, and then we move it upward. Great. As you can see now, my rendering starts to get a little bit more of depth because of all these elements that I'm quickly adding just like this. Great. Let's do the other side at the same time. It won't be the same as the other rendering, but that's okay. You get the idea. I'm actually going to put quite a few of these below the table. And that's the beautiful thing about these assets. They are modeled in such a way that you can simply rotate them and you'll always get different views that, you know, you would not get otherwise. If there is anybody from 𝘊𝗶𝗵𝗲 watching this, you guys do an amazing job. Sometimes I just buy their models, even though I know that I'm not gonna use them, because they're really, really good. So shout out to the guys from 𝘊𝗶𝗵𝗲. Hello, 𝘊𝗶𝗵𝗲. So let me move this, scale it up. There we go. Let me go and grab some other elements. Maybe a couple of those panels. R to rotate. S, T, E to move it down. Drop to floor, E, make 2 of those. Then maybe grab this, rotate it the other way around. Maybe scale it in this direction, it doesn't really matter. We're just playing around at this time. Move this and rotate it the other way around. This way. Push it to the floor, move it forward. Make a couple of copies. Beautiful. Now we're gonna have a little bit of light coming in that direction. It doesn't really matter. Maybe we can just simply scale this up. It's gonna help selling this idea of like electronic stuff happening behind. Hi guys, how are you? Make it look bad. I don't know if I can do that. Yes, I am a 𝘊𝗆𝗀𝗃. Professional 𝘊𝗆𝗃 here. If you really want to put it into words, I'm a 𝘊𝗃𝗃𝗃. And only people that have been to Vienna know what a 𝘊𝗃𝗃𝗃 is. And I'm planning, the next time that I'm in Vienna, I'm planning to make a video called The Best 𝘊𝗆𝗃 on the Planet. The best hot dog on the planet. And that's the 𝘊𝗃𝗃𝗃 Forgot the name of the place that it's at the... Adam, maybe you can help me. What's the name of the place in... what is it called? At the 𝘄𝗶𝗹𝗹. 𝘀𝗶𝗹𝗹𝗶 something? No. Anyway. I'm gonna grab this one, which I've used also for the other rendering challenge. E to move. Make a copy. Leave it down here. T. And then these ones, I can simply copy them again. Whoa. 90 degrees. 90 degrees. E. T. To scale them. Maybe I'll intersect them. Make another one. Push it a little bit back. Maybe I'll also make a copy and put it out here. T to scale it. E. And I'll push it back down there. Good. If I play video games, you know, I have retired my PlayStation a few years ago because a friend of mine was like, oh, let's play. And I did. I played a lot of video games. But then I was like, I'm too busy. I really don't know when I could play video games. And I hate that because I love playing video games. And I tried when we went into quarantine because a friend of mine was like, yeah, I don't have anything to do. You want to play video games with me? And so we were playing Battlefield, and it was the laziest game that I've ever played because basically now there is like 100 times more players than usual, and everybody's so bored, so they're all hiding behind a rock trying to snipe somebody from far away. And so the game, it's not that much fun. But I love to play, what is it called, the other one? There are quite a few games that I play, yes. Sorry for giving you a super long answer. I'm a very eloquative person. Eloquative? I think I made that word up. It's okay. Italian is my first language, don't blame me. Let's make another copy. I don't want to spend too much time doing this. You guys probably are not going to see this anyway. Now, let's do something fun. Let's, you know what? Let's make it look cyberpunk. There is this other plugin that I like to use, which is called, what is it called? Extension, the 𝘊𝗶𝗶𝗹𝗹. And this plugin basically creates elements such as ropes between other elements. And so I'm gonna show you in a second what I mean. Let me just copy a couple of boxes. So look, I have all these boxes copied. Now I'm gonna grab them and I'm going to say extensions and 𝘊𝗶𝗹𝗹. If I click Alt, they should become automatically children of the 𝘊𝗶𝗹𝗹. Let me see if I remember this correctly. No, mistake. Okay, let me just create a 𝘊𝗶𝗹𝗹, and then I grab all these cubes, drop them inside of 𝘊𝗶𝗹𝗹, and now I have all these wires here. You might say, okay, this doesn't look that good, Fabio. What are you doing, man? Don't worry, I'm gonna fix it. So I'll go to generate. First of all, I want to have the radius of this thing to be a lot smaller, maybe 0.4, yes. The transform tab, it's going to allow me to move these elements either up or down. And this is already a lot better. Direction allows me to move the direction, and then the position, it's the offset. Now, all I have to do is actually take these cubes and change their sizes, because at the moment they're not correct. So let me make this like 50. So this looks a lot better already. Yeah, and the rest it's fine. Now what I can do, I can simply go and look for, let me just say, object return hierarchy so that I can see the elements. I'm gonna select the cubes. Let me see which cube I want to select. Oh, it doesn't let me select the cubes. Why not? In theory, I should be able... Oh, sorry. I'm on the wrong side of the thing. Okay, perfect. So now I can simply move these elements around to kind of change the appearance of the cables, you see? And another thing that I can do, I can actually make copies so that I can add some of those cables when it's needed. Then I can scale them down, move them. Whoops. So to kind of get some of this geometry out of the way. Perfect. Maybe this one we can make it a little bit like this. And that's okay. Now, you're not gonna see them if I was to render this. Let me unclick return hierarchy. You're not gonna see this into the details, and so we'll be able to sell you the illusion that this looks okay. Let me just render it so that you understand what I mean. Spaghetti generator, yes. Yeah, oh, sorry, I should have replaced the material. Stop. To replace the material, simply Alt and drag on top of the material, and now the material is replaced. Render. And so you see, now you just see a very messy element at the bottom. Now, the one thing that you have to keep in mind is that the light is bouncing like crazy at the moment all over the place. And this is due to the fact that we don't have a base material. But the moment that you're going to introduce base materials, you'll be able to control the light a little bit better. So let's just stop this. Let's create a Corona base material, new material. I'm going to make the diffuse sort of like 40% dark. The reflection, we're gonna make it very glossy, 65%. And this is going to be my base material for all these elements, which I usually call props. But anyway, let's see. So let me take all these elements that I've created here, apart from the glass and this. Okay, these are down here. This is the cube. Perfect. So I'm going to take all these elements and group them. And so if I were to hide this, okay, I also want to include the plane. No, sorry, hold on. Let's see, the plane, I want to keep it. And then all these elements. Yes, so I'll grab also these columns. And these columns, I put them inside this group. This group, I'm gonna call it props. Good. So now I have a glass. Let me rename this glass. Actually, let me use my... I come from the south of Italy and I love to rename my files using Neapolitan names. So I'm gonna say Ovrita. That's for glass. This is going to be Omar, not to be confused with Omar. And this is the floor. I'm gonna call it nder, which means on the floor. Great. So let me create a material for the floor because you're going to see the floor. And so we want to use a material that is going to tile nicely, and it's going to give us some sort of like what do you want to call it? A realistic reflection? Yeah, that's probably the best word. So new material, we call this nder. In the diffuse, we're going to drop a soft patch from 𝘄𝗶𝗹𝗹. This is a plugin that I've already mentioned yesterday. It was given to me by the guys from 𝘄𝗶𝗵𝗃. This is the last office where I used to work as an artist before I moved here to Tel Aviv. And so what this does it creates a seamless patch just by dropping any image. In this case, you know what? I'm just gonna use a general grunge. Actually, I'll use the dark one. No, I don't want to save it. And I'll use this on multiply mode with a very dark material, something like 30%. And I'm going to reduce the multiply to something like 15. Maybe a little bit more, 25. Yes. And the same material, the same, what is it called? The shader, I'm going to drop inside the reflection. This time I'm going to blend it 50%. And the glossiness I'm going to control with a normal image, maybe also a grunge. No, I don't want to save it. The only thing is that the grunge, it's too black and white, so to say. So I'm gonna layer this with Corona color mix. So what this does is going to mix this color together with this color, and I'll be able to control this by mixing the strength. There we go. Maybe this is too reflective. I'm going to change this with a grayish color. Okay, that's perfect. And I'm just gonna drop this material onto the floor. Now, in theory, I should not really worry about texturing, but in this case, I know that probably this is going to be too big, so I'm gonna reduce the size to 30%. Perfect. And I'm gonna apply this material actually also to the columns. Let me change the UV in this case, because this element it's a little bit too stretched. Let me see if this is the right value. Is it? I think I got the wrong one. Let's see. Yes, much better. A little bit less, 20. Hello Fabio, today I'll start your Mac challenge. Yes, yes Hector, I can't wait. If I will stream every day, I don't know yet. I have no idea. As of now, my work schedule, it's pretty clean. Next week I'm gonna be teaching. I teach at the university. I teach social media and communication for designers. This is going to be streamed, but for my students only. Yeah, so I don't know. Probably next week I won't be as available as I am this time. And what I'll do, I'll create a similar material like Gen, that stands for general one. I'm gonna make Gen 2, and I'm gonna make the Gen 2 a lot darker, something like 25%, and maybe a little less reflective, 70%. Yes, and I'm gonna drop this into the props so that everything is going to be dark. Wait a second, because these have their own material, so I'm just gonna replace it. Brilliant. I can see a lot of spots where the light can actually go through here. So I'm just gonna grab a piece of geometry, and the reason why I keep this geometry here is because you see all these little holes. Those give me a possibility later on to go and fill them up with the light. And so I'll make a copy, scale it down, move it up. And so doing the, oh, it's popping up. We don't want that. E, let's move it like this. Let's make another copy. It's okay. Let's do the same here. I'll move it backward. That's good enough. Maybe we want to have something down there also. Great. These, you see, they look like futuristic computers, if you like. I can see all the cables coming up. It's okay. We can simply go and change the transform. Whoops. There we go, direction. Nice. Let's render this, let's see what happens. So if you guys have any questions, feel free, you know, to write. I'm gonna keep looking and see if you guys have any curiosity. So now, basically, all that there is to this exercise is to start playing with the lights and with the intensity of the material. Because as you can see, now the light is good. There is this light coming in. Probably I'm going to use some support lights at the back of the camera just to bring some of the elements. Let me change the size of this rendering so that you can see it better, because I guess that with the stream, the quality must be poor. And so, for instance, one thing that I could do, I could take a Corona light, put it right behind the props, just like so. Whoops. And put it way back. Maybe make it a little bit more. I'm gonna call this support. This is the top light, so I'm gonna call it 𝘀𝗶𝗹𝗹𝗶, which means on top in my language. Support light, it's going to be maybe 20 intensity. And since we're playing a little bit with the contrast of and the colors, I'm going to change this and make it a little bit more orangey, not too much. That's yellowish, orangish. Camera, render, and let's see what happens. So this is a little bit bigger. Good, so we can see that there is a little bit of light coming in. Great, so some of these details start to pop out again. Obviously, I could do a much better job of going in and close these little holes with like light coming in. Maybe I should make the whole lighting of the volume material a little bit less like this. Let's try instead of 1600 and distance also here 600. Let's see if this makes any difference. We are under the ocean. Sorry, I should have made this a little bit clearer. Actually, you know what? Let me just... Okay, I'll stop this. Let me change the color, because obviously the color of the scatter is too greenish for my taste. Okay, and I'll make this a little bit darker. Okay, and then what I want to do, I want to open my... It's a shark, which I downloaded from 𝘄𝗶𝗃𝗃. 𝘄𝗶𝗃𝗃 is a great place for all this kind of stuff. There we go. I'll grab this shark, edit, copy, test, edit, paste, and I'm gonna put this shark somewhere in the middle there. But as you can see, it is really too small, this shark. Let me hide actually the glass so that and the sea so that we can see where the shark is. What is this? Props. What is this cube? What is this cube? Oh, that's the cube that I was putting to see the transparency. So T R, and now what I want to do, I want to give a little bit of dynamism to this shark. So what I'll do, I'll go inside the shark. It's subdivided, so if I disable this, you'll see that the edges are all quite edgy, right? Q to make it smooth. And so in the model, I'm gonna put a bend modifier, center this to the model, and raise the strength. Now, unfortunately, this is wrong in the way it's positioned. It should be position this way. There we go. So what I'll do, 0 here, I'll say keep the Y length and fit object to parent. And now I'm gonna make it very, very bendy. I'm gonna hide the bend modifier so that we don't see it in the viewport. And now my big fish is fishing. And now I can simply like move it in the position that I think it's best. Look at that, making 3D, it's magic. Yeah. Good, so now if I were to render this, let's hope that this is going to come out correct. What is this? What is happening? Stop. Okay. You know what? Instead of testing, because I've already done it in the other file, let me go and see the control room so that I can simply copy and I can share these settings with you guys. So the volume material that I have here is 1000 and then 0 centimeters here. Okay, so you know what? I'll just say right click, volume material, edit, copy. I'll go inside my test, edit, paste, and I'll put this volume to replace this one. And now in theory, if I render this, it should come out correctly. Better. As you can see, the shark is over there. Brilliant. Maybe the material here, it's a little bit too reflective, but it's okay. We're gonna take care of this in a second. And also what I want to do, I want to go inside of Corona, and in the performance settings, I want to enable the caustics. And I'll keep it in the rendering. It's okay. I don't want to denoise it. Great. So, a question that I got asked was, how did you make the lights? This is actually super simple. Now that I have more or less the light balanced, and sorry, just for your own reference, what I did with the volume material, I simply changed the distance of the absorption, and then I kept the scattering, directionality, and the emission color to 0. The step on volume mapping, the step size, I think it controls the quality, but don't quote me on that. I'm not a Corona expert, so don't really know. Great, so let's make a light. In this case, I'm going to create a tube cylinder. Actually, that's the thing, that, you know, a light, in order to work properly, needs to be placed in a place that sort of like looks like it was designed to put a light in there, if you know what I mean. And so if I go here, you will see there is a segment here that it's cut out, where I can actually go in, squeeze these things down, put them in there, and so it kind of looks like they were designed for this space, you know? Great. Now I'll create a Corona new material, make it self-illumination, give it a orangey color, something like this. Give it a multiplier of 30, I don't know. There we go. Maybe I can actually copy this before we test render, so that we have more elements that we can actually test. And eventually we could make a copy also here. And here. Let's see if there is a chance for us to do something on the other side as well. Yes, there is, but in this case, you know what? I'm gonna make a cylinder. This cylinder I'm going to squeeze down. R to rotate it. E to move it. Whoops, where is it? There it is. Gonna squeeze it down. Put it in there. Place it in there. So that it looks like it's part of the geometry. Make another copy there. Brilliant. Now, these two cylinders, since you're going to see it, I'm going to give it a little bit more subdivision so that they're a little bit more round. And I'll copy the same light. Now, let's test render and let's see what happens, okay? So you got the two lights there, two lights here. Render. That's beautiful. Okay, good. So one of the things that you need to watch out with lights, especially if they are geometrical lights like this, is that the distribution of the light in this case, it's too homogeneous. And I can see it already from the preview that it's forming here, meaning that the light shines in all directions. Now, I don't really like that because in theory the light should be a little bit softer on the edges, and that's because of the way our eye looks at it. And so we get the brightness of the light straight into our eyes, but on the side it looks a little bit less bright. And to do this, all you have to do is to mix the light with a Fresnel effect. So if I make a Fresnel and say multiply this, we're going to get, in this case, the effect is the other way around. Right click, invert gradients. And so now you're going to get a darker edge and a more intensive core. So if I were to render this, you will see that the light will look slightly better. This is a minor modification that you can do to your light, but it adds a lot more realism. I don't know if you can see it from my rendering, but basically the fall off is a little bit sweeter and the transition it's not as harsh. Good. So another question that I got was, how did I make the pipes? This is also a very simple one. And I think that's the last thing that people ask me. Let me check out on the image. The control room. Yeah, the God rays and everything, I've done it in post-production. Obviously, I tuned the materials a little bit better, and there are some props that I got from other models. But the pipes, they're very simple. Oops, I switched off Photoshop. That's a mistake. So let's make those pipes. First of all, let me stop the render. Stop render, yes. To make the pipe, all I have to do is to sketch the... Let me put all these elements inside the props. To make the lights, the pipes, all I have to do is sketch the spline that it's going to generate the pipes. And at this point, I really don't know what is happening. There we go. So I'll make one. I'll make two. Let's leave it to 2 for now. Now, I could actually take... I'll do it each single spline at the time because it's probably better. Let me create a compound object, sweep, and I'll put this spline inside the sweep. And then I'll create a circle, put this circle together with a sweep. And now all I have to do is scale down the circle until I have a size that I'm happy with, right? Now, as you can see, the geometry, it's a little bit... what do you call it? Could be better. So I'm gonna make this uniform. No, sorry, natural. Is it natural? Yes. And I'm gonna subdivide this by 20. And this is going to make the curve a lot smoother. Now, as you can see, the pipe is intersecting with my floor. Not a problem. I select the sweep, click on drop to floor, and now the pipe is flush with the floor. Let me copy this pipe, and I will replace now the spline with the other spline. And so now I have two pipes. Now, this pipe is also on the floor. To not make them intersect, all I have to do is click on the geometry that I want to change, go to the spline, MA to add points to the spline. I have to find the spline first. Let me deactivate this. There you go. Oh, sorry, I need to go to point mode. And I can create, say, another point there. Now I can grab the point that I want to modify, and I can move it up. Make this a soft interpolation. Maybe I need to play around a little bit with this geometry. There we go. But now if I activate the pipe again, you'll see that the pipe, it's still intersecting, which is, I understand, not the best. Yeah, but we can play with it. Let's do the same with this other spline. Obviously, you can spend hours tuning this, yeah? I'll add a couple of points. Maybe select the other one. Maybe select them both. Good. Let's see how this looks. So now, as you can see, you have these pipes coming in. One thing that you could do, you could select these points and just put them back so that they get out of your sight. How do you make them ribbed? So how do you give them this effect as you saw in the rendering? This is very simple. I did it with the displacement. So let me create a Corona material. This is going to be a pipe. In the pipe, I'm gonna put into the diffuse. I'm going to put this corrugated bump. It's a very simple file. You can do it in Photoshop. It's just blurred lines. And I'm going to assign this material to the pipe. The reason why I do this is just to see how the UV is working. So in this case, let me try to see if, yeah, there we go. You see, I only have to change the UV tiling, and when I'm happy, I can simply take the same shader, put it inside the displacement, change the amount of displacement. In this case, I think the 2, maybe 1.5 will probably be enough. In the diffuse, I'm going to probably put this to multiply just to give it more of an effect and make it very dark. And then I'm gonna make it reflective with a lot of glossiness. If I now apply the same material, I'm gonna have these pipes being rugged and ribbed. All I have to do is take these props, move them on the other side, rotate a little bit, stick them inside like this, and you won't see the difference probably. Let me go back to my view. Great. Let me render this and let's see what happens. I don't know if you already answered that before. What would you say is the advantage of using Cinema 4D in terms of archivist projects? I think that Cinema 4D is very simple to use. Like when I first started, I was using also 3ds Max and I hated my life. Like I did not think that I could continue working in the field of archivist. Now, with that said, obviously it's not a 3ds Max problem. The problem comes from the fact that I did not like how to use 3ds Max. Honestly, I don't think it's worth to, pointing fingers and say, this is better than this is worse than that. There are people doing incredible work using Blender, and Blender it's for free. The only thing is that, you know, Cinema 4D has a integrated pipeline. They work together with other software manufacturers. Same goes for Autodesk and 3ds Max. And so this is the advantage of using those software. But there are a lot of like freelancers using Blender, and you know, they don't have a problem. They actually think it's a great software to do this kind of stuff, and I agree actually. Good. The only thing in this case is that the shark, you probably can barely see it. It's not that visible. All you have to do is make it darker, and actually the thing is that I'm not using a Corona material. That's a bad thing. Every time that you're using a render engine, you should be using the proper materials because they react better in the framework of a render engine. Corona does a very good job, but nevertheless, I would say let's create its own shader for this kind of stuff. Corona, layer material. Let's call it 𝘀𝗶𝗹𝗹𝗶. That means the shark. And I'm gonna paste the shader inside the shark. I'm gonna blend it with a very dark color, maybe 50%. And I'll take this shader, put it inside the reflection. Switch it on. Maybe mix it with a little bit of white and make it very glossy. So something like 60% or something. Maybe let's make this even a little bit darker. It needs to be dark. And now if I render this, hopefully you'll be able to see it better. Slightly better. It could be that it's a little bit too far also. Let's try and make it a little bit closer. Maybe scale it down a little bit, move it on this direction, and let's render again. Much better. Great. And then all I did was take in the computer that I made, the model of this Macintosh 2020, which, by the way, some people say that I spelled it wrong, right? Is it Macintosh or... because if I actually Google Macintosh computer... Macintosh. Did I wrote it correctly, or? I think I did. For my rendering competition, have I? I don't know. Anyway, Jason, thanks a lot for having my back. If I made a mistake, sorry, I apologize. But guys, this is basically the essence of the design that I made, or the techniques that I've used. Obviously, if I have to spend a lot of time like tuning the small things, we're going to waste a lot of time. The only thing is that in order for me to make the shark a little bit more blurry, what I had to do was to take my camera, activate the f-stop by changing the f-stop value to something like 2, going down. So it's, did I miss a H? I missed the H. Okay. It's alright, guys. I love you so much. I know that you're going to forgive me. Override total mapping vignette over depth of field. Enable depth of field, and I'm gonna leave all the rest as default. The camera I'm going to position in that way. Great. And so now if I were to render, you will see that the shark will be a lot more blurry. And so before you could really see the lines of the shark. Now everything it's a little bit more fuzzy. And of course, one of the things that you can do in order to make the flares and everything pop up a little bit more is to enable the bloom and glare. Corona does an incredible job at creating bloom and glare. Raise the value to something like 3. And now you're gonna see all this bloom and glare happening here. I really like Corona, I have to say. I'm still a big fan of V-Ray, and I'm waiting for the new V-Ray release to come out. But I really like Corona. I think it's very simple. And if you're moving your first steps into the field of visualization, it's very intuitive. It works really good, and I can simply recommend it. And so to sum it up, the plugins and the tools that I use the most are these ones. So the Corona as a render. Then I use drop to floor to align things with the floor. Then there is 𝘄𝗶𝗹𝗹 that creates all these little wires, if you like, little ropes, which add complexity to the design. I use the solo in order to isolate geometry very quickly. And it works like a charm, it's fantastic. Then I use 𝘄𝗶𝗹𝗃 to create seamless textures. This is an incredible plugin, and you have no idea how much time it saves me, because every time I don't do a lot of like, actually I don't do at all any of these texture files. I do all my textures using Photoshop, and I paint a lot, and I create my textures using Cinema 4D, the shaders, and then I have to tile them, so it's a pain in the butt, and so this saves me a lot of time. And what else? The drop to floor. Yeah, and this is it. It's very simple, nothing crazy. I hope you've learned something. I think this is it for this stream. If you guys have any questions, I'll give you a couple of minutes, otherwise we'll call it the day. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm here waiting. I'll get some water. I don't see any questions coming in. Okay, that's fine. I don't know. I really hope that you learned something. I really hope that you know, if you were considering giving a shot to Cinema 4D, that I kind of helped you making your mind up. I think it's a great software. I worked with it. I started to work with it, I think, in 2014. And in a couple of months, I was able to make already relatively discreetly good renderings, put it this way. And now I haven't been using it for a couple of years because I stopped doing production, but now that I have a little bit of time, I'm messing around with it again. And yeah, and that's it. All right, I guess no more questions. Guys, thanks a lot for watching. I really hope that you found this entertaining, interesting, whatever. And I will see you on the flip side. Or, one thing, very important, tonight we're going to talk to the 3 artists that won the rendering competition from last week. So make sure that you tune in. We're going to be live at around 7:30 Vienna time. It's going to be a very interesting conversation. And yeah, and it's going to be interesting. Why not Blender? I tried to learn Blender. I don't know. Again, it's a little bit like 3ds Max, you know, like I did not feel it. And I was able to do things in Cinema 4D, and to me, the most important thing was to create, not to, you know, have to learn something new. And I know that maybe this is not the most productive way to behave as a designer, because you should be learning everything new. You should be learning a lot of new things. But in this case, you know, like, I love the platform. I love Cinema 4D. I love the company, the guys behind it. I talked extensively to them. We work together, we collaborate with the D2 conference, you know, with the event. And so I love the values that they have. I love the fact that they support artists. It makes me even more happy to use the software. You hate it and love it. Yeah, it's a feeling that a lot of people have about Blender, but anyway. Alright guys, I'm gonna stop the stream. Thanks a lot. Yes, I will try to InMotion sometime soon, hopefully. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys the next time. Cheers!